What
I got
up?
I got the Jokerz Gallery with me. We're gonna be running through our top five Kottonmouth Kings album. What's going on, homie?
Hell yeah, man. Always down to talk some Cottonmouth Kings. And about the last 5 years or so, we haven't had much to talk about.
No, not much to talk about. They're reigniting the flame now with Suburban Noize and all that shit, and they, pumping out some new music. We got that new album last year. I see you posting a shitload of Cottonmouth up on your Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, I really got into that after that show you did with, what was the name of the
The roundtable, yeah,
Checkmate Industries.
yep.
That show was off the hook. So anybody that's watching this because they're into Cottonmouth Kings, definitely check that one out. You had St. Daw's cousin on there, and that dude was dropping knowledge the entire show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I said on their show to go check out their podcast because they have even more information that they talked about.
Yeah,
Really,
as soon as I got done with that episode of your podcast, I went and watched all of theirs, and all of them they get a lot of info. They got E-Man on there talking about the first beats from back in the day. I didn't know any of that stuff, and I've
no,
watched everything I could watch that I've been able to find from Cottonmouth Kings, and they were dropping all kinds of new info.
yeah, man, they got a lot of dope information. Really good podcast to listen to. It was a pleasure to have them on. It's a pleasure to have you on. I know you're a
Appreciate it.
big Cottonmouth fan, and I talked about how I got into Cottonmouth on that episode. So if you want to hear how I got into Cottonmouth, go check out Cottonmouth Confusion Part 2. But Cottonmouth Kings is one of my favorite groups ever. I fucking love Cottonmouth. These dudes are the shit. I followed their career closely since 1998, going on 21 years now. But yeah, how did you get into Cottonmouth?
Pretty much the same time frame that you're talking about right there. I was dating a chick that was kind of internet savvy for back in the day, back in '98 at least. She had like the number one link on insaneclownposse.com. So she knew all the like internet tactics back in the day, which I still kind of struggle with internet tactics. But back in '98, she had somehow downloaded most of the Royal Highness CD and had it on her computer to listen to. And she let me to hear it because I'd heard that they got kicked off of tour with ICP. And I'm thinking to myself, how kind of crazy motherfuckers get kicked off a tour with ICP? Like, you got to be crazy. I want to hear what it is. And then, it's named the Cottonmouth Kings. Every song, and if you look at the album, I don't think every song actually lasted 420, but every song's listed as lasting 420. So immediately you're just kind of interested in it. I put it on, and Bone Token Alcoholics, I thought that was super dope. And then as soon as Play On came on, I really connected with Saint Dog. I never heard anybody in the rap game, and I've been a fan of rap since '88, and I never heard anybody in the rap game that sounded like me on record. And all of a sudden, there's Saint Dog, man, and he's just going at it hardcore. He had punk rock, hip hop, all the shit I love was all mixed up in that record.
Fuck yeah, dude. They blended those styles well. And we'll be talking about that tonight. But yeah, just pure white boy aggression, Cottonmouth Kings, especially that first album. Really
I
dope
thought it was
shit.
I thought it was funny when E-Man was talking about it on Checkmate Industries. He was talking about how they thought it was odd a bunch of crazy white boys was coming down to the hood to get beats from them. And I was like, that sounds like the Cottonmouth Kings I love right there.
Yeah, man. Dope shit. That was a really good episode.
Hell yeah.
But let's get into it. Let's get into our top five. I'll let you kick it off. You are the guest. So what's your number five?
At the 5 spot, I'm going with Hidden Stash 2. The standout tracks to me, Mine's Playing Tricks on Me, Welcome to the Suburbs, Dying Days, Paid Vacation. It's literally an album I just put in the CD player back in the day, press play and let it play all the way through. Smoke to it. It was a perfect jam session. The CD ended well. Had like it kind of rode the highs throughout the album. And then at the end, kind of brought you down. Had the Grow Room Jam on it, which was a really good one. If you'd already got a couple blunts into the album, that song sounded really good then.
Fuck yeah. Yep. Really dope album. And it was pretty much all original music. It sounded like a brand new album when it came out.
Yeah, that's what I also thought. Like, you look back at other hidden stashes, and it was either like mixes that weren't used, and then you had some songs that didn't make albums. It seemed like this album was a new album to me. All the music, like you said, was new. They put out a bunch of videos from it. And
Right.
other than Mine Playing Tricks on Me, which was a cover, of course, of Ghetto Boys, I think it was all new original Cottonmouth Kings.
I think it was as well. All right. Your number five, Hidden Stash 2. My number five, of course, I got to show the CDs.
Oh,
Hidden
yeah.
Stash 1. This was right after the debut. of Royal Highness. This shit is even more grimier than Hidden Royal
Royal
Highness was.
Highness.
This shit is demos and tracks that didn't make it to Royal Highness. And it even has an original Kottonmouth Kings demo with Johnny Richter, Nightlife. Really dope shit.
That was the selling point of that album when it came out. It's like, oh, there's the actual, that's the actual song with all three of them on it.
Right. So this shit right here, Frontline, great fucking song. Talking about being West Coast juggalos and shit like that. That was another huge selling point for me for Cottonmouth back in the day, because
Absolutely.
I was straight juggalo shit for like 2 years straight, nothing but juggalo shit. And then when I heard them yelling that shit out, I was like, I'm good. Um, the original So High, I like the original So High better than the one that made it onto Royal Highness. That shit is so hard, like way more chill, but still super hard. One of my favorite Cottonmouth King songs ever on this album, Every Day, Solo Saint Dog.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking love that track. It's some real life shit. He's talking about, family being locked up, family passing on, shit like that. Saint Dog, man, super hard on that track. Love the beat to that shit. The chorus, super dope. And then you got the remix to Suburban Life. It's kind of a stripped down version of Suburban Life. It's kind of harder. Those drums fucking just hit you in the chest.
It's grimier for sure. It sounds like it's less polished. You could tell that
Right.
you could tell the new one was made to kind of try to get some radio hits, which it did. It got some radio play. It still plays in the background of MTV, like random reality shows. You'll hear Dog's Life and you'll hear Suburban Life. And of course, it was on the screen, actual movie.
Yeah. Yeah. The Suburban Life got a bunch of fucking play on MTV and all that shit back in the day. Then you got other tracks on here, Shouts Going Out, propping up their city, P-Town. The original group name was PTB, the P-Town Ballers.
Had nothing to do with balling either. It was about basketball. They were all just huge basketball fans.
Yeah. From what I understand, D-Lo could have got a sponsor or a scholarship to college.
Yeah, that's what he's always rapping about it.
Right. But yeah, my number 5, the first Hidden Stash. Really grimy shit on there. Love it.
Yeah, I got no beefs with that being in the top 5 at all. I'll move it up to my 4th spot. Going the Green album, which is one of the newer albums of the Kottonmouth Kings discography. I just love the whole vibe of that album. It's one that's it's not really aggressive. It's one that it's just a good sit back and hit a bow to. And there's literally a song on there called Pack Your Bows. I think that's a real standout. I think Where I'm Going is probably one of my top 5 favorite Kottonmouth Kings songs ever. I think Blaze of Glories was really good. The KOTTONM, KOUTHKINGs, that song's dope. I thought every song had pretty good music behind it. It was just a chilled album. It was really good. It was kind of like Tangerine Dream, that vibe, and they kept that throughout the whole album. There was a couple of songs on there which I don't even really like the aggressive songs on the album. It's more the mellow ones I like, but it's almost like a whole album full of Tangerine Dreams.
Yeah, man, that Where I'm Going track. The Green album is one of those albums that I didn't really heavily get into. But that Where I'm Going, like you said, that's definitely one of their best songs that they've ever put out. Love that shit.
It's classic Johnny Richter. That's like Johnny Richter at his best, hitting the melodies. That's what he brought to the group so much, was mixing the melody with the rap. And I think that's where he shows it most in that song.
Absolutely. You love that shit. Johnny Richter with those melodies. And he could rap his ass off too.
I think that, in my opinion, that was the last great Kottonmouth King album to come out.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about that today. In my opinion, the last great Kottonmouth King album to come out, like great Kottonmouth King album. Actually, I'll talk about it later.
Right on.
All right, my number 4.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Fuck that. All right. Number 4, High Society. This was, I remember when this shit, I've been following Kottonmouth since Royal Highness. This album dropped. I was mad hyped for this album. I pop it in. Who the fuck is this dude rapping? And where the fuck is Saint Dog?
Absolutely.
That was my first question. And then I opened the booklet. Who the fuck is this guy?
Yep.
Had no idea who the fuck that was. Even though Johnny Richter was on the Hidden Stash album, I had no idea. And, once listening through the album, you put two and two together. You're like, okay, Johnny Richter's back in the group, but where the fuck did Saint Dog go? But solid fucking album nonetheless. This is when they started out that new kind of, I kind of want to say groundbreaking production. They went with like more of like a futuristic kind of sound. Their production was ahead of their time. Starting with this album, this shit on here, Mike Kumagai, is a fucking monster on the boards. The beats that he cooks up, man, fucking bangers. In this album right here, you got tracks Daydreaming Phases, In Your Fucking Face, that bump, bump, bump. Love that shit. The Joint, they're just classic stoner shit. They get too high and they can't find the fucking joint. You know what I mean? Fun fact about this CD that I actually learned on the show that I did with the roundtable discussion from Checkmate Industries is Saint Dog wrote the chorus for Face Facts. And that was his way to get out of the contract with Capitol. That's how they explained it. And that's a fucking dope track. And you can kind of tell that was written by Saint Dog as well.
It sounds like a Saint Dog track for sure.
Yeah.
And I remember back in that time, you talk about whenever they put the picture out in the album, there's like 9 dudes in that picture. And I remember hearing Daddy X saying it was because they had just booted Saint out of the band and they didn't clear it with Capitol. And they were hoping they would just take a picture of a bunch of dudes and they wouldn't realize the dude that was that led the majority of that first album is no longer in the group. Right. That's why there was so many dudes pictured in that album.
Yeah, that shit was wild. For just Saint Dog to disappear. I mean, he was even claiming he was the leader of the group.
Yeah, he was the front man, undoubtedly. But you look at those videos from the first era and then listen to the songs. The songs were, you could tell they're written by him. They're more about than just my weed's good. It was about the system and fighting bad jail sentences and people getting locked up for weed when they didn't need to be, which he's locked up for weed when he shouldn't be right now. So he's still fighting those fights.
Yeah, I mean, you got tracks on here like that with Peace Not Greed, classic anti-fuck the system shit. Love that track. King's Blend is a fucking classic Kottonmouth Kings cut. And then you got the track with ICP, The Wicked Clowns. I thought ICP kind of fucked that track up because I hate when people have ICP on tracks and purposely slow the beat down. Like ICP can keep up with those faster type beats. And it kind of ruined the song for me. Still a banging ass track, but I thought it kind of threw it off. But yeah, love this album. Debut of Johnny Richter, full length, number 4, High Society.
I'll keep it at High Society with my number 3. It's going to be High Society. Talk about the first album of Johnny Richter. I went to the first gathering of the Juggalos, and this album dropped like a week before the first gathering of the Juggalos. And I've already said I'm a huge Saint Dog fan. Saint's the reason I was into Kottonmouth Kings. So I was pretty much had my mindset that when I got the Kottonmouth Kings show, I was going to hate this dude on stage that was trying to sing Saint Dog's parts and then breaking out the new songs. And by the end of the concert, I was at the Kottonmouth Kings booth, merch booth, buying gear because Johnny Richter, man, he tore that shit up. He sounds just as good melodically live as he does on record. And he was able to, he took the Saint parts, but he didn't keep the same lyrics. He switched them up to his own. So you kind of got to respect that even more. And by the end of that performance at the first gathering, I was sold on Johnny Richter and the Kottonmouth Kings going forward. And I'd written them off when I heard Saint wasn't going to be in the group anymore.
I'll be honest. There was a period in time where I was angry because Saint Dog wasn't in the group anymore, and there was no real explanation. I mean, the internet was around at that time, but I didn't have fucking internet. You know, I don't. From what I understand, the only explanation was they kind of just split ways. But it's come out later on that Saint Dog was just too fucking rowdy for him. And,
yeah, he was just living that life too much.
Yeah,
that's why Richter wasn't on the first album, is because he decided to kind of go the slinging drugs route, and instead of going to the studio every day and just living on whatever scrapes they could get off of the Kottonmouth Kings back then, he went and sold drugs. So that's why he wasn't on the first album. That's what Richter even said about it. So it's kind of like both of them have kind of went through it while on the Kottonmouth Kings.
Right. And like you said, Cottonmouth, Johnny Richter fit right in, man. I remember hearing rumors that Saint Dog was pissed at Richter for doing his vocals at shows.
Yeah.
But you can't really blame Richter for that because they have to perform those songs.
Yeah, they were classics, especially at that point. Talking about in 2000 at the Gathering. I mean, they only had you've got to play the hits from Royal Highness. You can't just come out and play your entire new album. Everybody's gonna hate it because they were there to see the songs that they loved from previously.
Right,
One
exactly.
one thing I didn't mention is I went to Hallowicked '98, and if you remember, the Hallowicked '98 single had Kottonmouth Kings on them. That should have been the first time I got to see Kottonmouth Kings, but they got kicked off that tour. They were actually supposed to be there, but they got kicked off the tour.
That's
They're
funny.
actually on the single, didn't make it to the actual show.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. My number 3, Hidden Stash 2.
Nice.
This album right here, this is when they really started getting into their sound. They took everything that they started dabbling with on High Society and just improved and made it better on Hidden Stash 2. Like we said earlier, this is pretty much just a brand new album. I don't think any of these were like cuts that didn't make High Society. I think for whatever reason, they just made a new album, tested new shit out, new sounds, and decided to call it Hidden Stash. But bangers on here. They started playing more with that rip hop, the punk rock, hip hop with the new hip hop kind of sound that they were going with
Dying
those.
Days
Yeah, Dying Days.
jumps
Like,
out for that.
I'm not a fan of punk music, really, but the, the way they mesh the punk rock and the hip hop together, it's so fucking dope. Love that shit. Welcome to the Suburbs is one of my favorite Kottonmouth King songs.
Yep.
That beat is so fucking hard. Paid Vacation is another one of my favorites. Love that shit. Things I Do, Johnny Richter just getting fucked up. Love that shit. Mind Playing Tricks on Me, great Ghetto Boys cover. Usually cover songs, I've said numerous times, cover songs are just like most of the time no go. But
Yeah.
that shit really, they did really good on that fucking cover. Um, Bipolar, that punk rock shit. New Destination, love that shit. Just Hidden Stash 2, man. This is when they really started coming into that sound and really figuring out what direction and what what they really want it to sound like.
I think Hidden Stash 2 is pretty similar to Ringmaster from ICP. Right before you get Rolling Stone, which I think is pretty much the epitome of that Kottonmouth King sound, you had to get Hidden Stash 2. And I think it kind of played the Ringmaster role. And then you seen with Riddlebox, the Clowns had fully figured it out by then. And I think
Yep.
that's kind of what they had done on Rolling Stone. I think that was the progressive album that you could hear them really change up their styles and really start to figure things out.
Yep. Yeah, Hidden Stash 2. That's dope fucking album. All right.
I just spoke of it. I'll move it up to the 2 spot. Rolling Stone. That's classic. As soon as it came out, it was just one of those albums where like this is what a Kottonmouth Kings album should sound like front to back. I think it was like over 20 tracks. Just put it on and just groove with it. It had every element of what Kottonmouth Kings do well. It had the rip hop. It had the punk rock sound. It had the laid back positive vibe type of sound. Endless Highways, one of my all time favorites. They're just every track on the album's good in my opinion. Positive Vibes, Enjoy, Endless Highway, 420, Tangerine Sky, Rest of My Life, Full Throttle, just on and on. Just every track on the album is a good song.
Absolutely. And my number 2 is Rolling Stone, so we can just continue the discussion. I was just bumping this album today. Um, you were discussing, you said the Green Album was their last great album. This album is their last great album, in my opinion. Yeah, they put out good albums after, but great albums, classic shit. This album right here, while not my number 1 favorite album, I could say that this is their best album musically. They fucking knocked it out of the park with that punk rock hip hop shit that we were just talking about. I think they called it Stony Vibrations, like the positive vibes, Tangerine Sky. Johnny Richter with that harmonizing, really dope shit. Their production, Mike Kuma guy, really just honed in on that fucking production, knocked it out of the park on this album. Super hot, like just this is classic Kottonmouth King shit right here. Absolutely.
Classic era Kottonmouth Kings too. The shows were probably at the hypest at that point, and it was probably when Kottonmouth King and SRH was at its biggest. You could go into Hot Topic and Spencer's and find Kottonmouth King stuff all of a sudden. And
Yeah.
there's and it was big to see ICP back in the day, and then you see Twisted, and then Twisted sells, and they get the Dark Lotus shirts, and they're like, okay, what else are Juggalos like? And Kottonmouth Kings. All of a sudden, you're seeing Kottonmouth Kings in
Yep.
Spencer's, which was shocking to me
Yeah,
at the
man.
time for dudes that push weed as much as they did back in the 90s.
Right. Uh Cottonmouth, this was around the time Cottonmouth really started blowing up. I think this album helped them really take it to the next level and be on that kind of a Psychopathic Records status that Psychopathic was on at the time. This album came out 2002, so we're talking about the era of the sixth. You know what I mean? So Psychopathic was pretty much in their prime at that point. And Suburban Noize was getting to their prime with this album. I think they reached their prime with like number seven. That's when they started fucking with strange music a lot. Started doing those strange noise tours and shit like that.
Here's a hot take.
I could barely hear you right now.
I think Rolling Stone is better than either of the six Joker's cards. Thought about to come out in the same era. I thought the six Joker's card. I thought
Okay.
Rolling Stone was better than each of them.
Then the six Joker's card.
Yeah, I think it was better. You said it came out in the same era, kind of 2002. I think Rolling Stone was better than either of the six Joker card albums, Wraith or Shangri-La.
You know what?
Or I mean, Shangri-La or Hell's Pit.
Yeah, you know what? I never compared Cottonmouth to ICP like that, but
There's more tracks I like on Rolling Stone than either of the Wraith albums.
I think I go back to Rolling Stone more than I do the Wraith. I fucking love Shangri-La. Hell's Pit is kind of 50-50 for me, but I love Shangri-La, but I probably do go back to Rolling Stone more than Shangri-La. This album's so fucking hard. 420, I love that track.
That was my alarm clock for the longest time ever in like 2003. Back whenever cell phone alarm clocks were new and fresh and everything. That was my alarm clock forever. And it was just a recording of the actual album playing through my speaker. It wasn't like I downloaded it on my phone.
That's funny. Love that shit. The song with Judge D, Living in Fear, another one of those classic.
That's where Daddy X shines. Those songs.
Exactly. Yeah. The thing with Kottonmouth Kings, they started losing me when Daddy X started being more prominent with rapping on the albums. He wasn't that good of a rapper, to be honest.
No, not at all. He didn't even tend to be a rapper when he started out. I think just that the group had dropped so many in members, he just had to start rapping more.
Right. But that track's so fucking hard. Living in fear their cops, whatever the fuck. That shit. So hard. But yeah, number two, Rolling Stone. Their best album musically, but my second favorite album.
I got no beef with that, of course, as I had it my number two as well. I guess we'll go ahead and get into number one. I'm going Royal Highness. It started it all. I don't think there's any skippers on the entire album. Play On's my favorite track. Like I said, that was the first one that really connected with me when I listened to the album the first time. I've always loved psychedelic funk. I think that just really shows their range, and it really showed what the Kottonmouth Kings could do differently than everybody else you'd ever heard in that song. And then in Dog's Life, of course, Fallen Token Alcoholics, Bump, of course, one of the singles and videos from it. There's no skippers on the album. There's not one. The only one that I even kind of don't like sometimes is Spies, and that's just the beginning of it. And then once you get past the beginning of it, I like it.
Yeah. All right. Fuck it. Number one, Royal Highness.
Gotta be.
Yeah. This album is
the only one with Saint on it.
Besides Hidden Stash, but Hidden Stash was just tracks that didn't make Royal Highness.
Yeah.
I think Saint was probably out of the group at that time, and they were just trying to figure out what the fuck they were going to do. But fuck, man. If I were to tell anybody to start, it's tough because if you go with any album after this, Saint Dog's not on it, and you're gonna get a completely different sound. But if you want that hard, grimy shit, this is the album, man. Just Saint Dog was so fucking dope on this album.
And angry.
Yeah, man. Like his lyrics. My favorite song on this album is High Society. I said it on the Kottonmouth Confusion Part 2 with those guys. Fuck your pension. If you're paid, pay attention. Teacher on this land, yo, you're all on detention. That shit
Failed to
is
mention
so
about the everyday struggle.
yeah.
Yeah, he was on some whole nother shit on Royal Highness. It was stuff that was more comparable to like Rage Against the Machine than it was stoner rap.
Yes. And you still had the stoner rap on here with songs like So High, Bong Token Alcoholics, even Planet Butron kind of a little bit. But yeah, man, like this album was their angriest album for sure. And they were
Yeah.
like 18 years old when they recorded this shit. Like they were fucking kids. And this shit, super dope. Just classic production from E-Man, the AK Brothers. Just Bump is another one of those classic tracks. Dog's Life. I used to not be a big fan of Dog's Life. That would be my skipper back in the day. But as time has gone on, I listen to this album front to back now. I don't skip a single fucking song. Love this album. What's your trip? I need another hit. I need another hit. What's your trip? Like, just this was Saint Dog. I wish Saint Dog would go back to this style.
Yeah, for sure. I wish the whole group would go back to it if they were able to get back to that musically and get all that ingredients in there. But like you were saying with the Checkmate guys, that you got to have X to have that complete sound because he does bring his own flavor to it.
I believe X taught them how to write songs because he was in bands before that, Humble Gods, shit like
Doggy
that.
Style.
Yep. So I believe he knew what the fuck he was doing. He's like, you're good at this, you're good at that. I'm gonna show you how to put this together, and we're gonna make some classic fucking music. Imagine if Saint Dog never left the group and Johnny Richter joined. Imagine Saint Dog on Rolling Stone.
Yeah, it'd be nasty.
Hearing him, imagine hearing Saint Dog on songs like Zero Tolerance,
Yeah.
Sub Noise Rats. What's the other?
Welcome to the Suburbs on a Hidden Stash 2. I want to hear Saint on.
He could have fit in so well on those tracks. You could have had the angry raps from Saint Dog, the stony raps from D-Loc, and then you could have had just, Richter doing his thing, bringing in those melodies and the harmonizing and shit like that. And then you got X just bringing it all together with those hooks and kind of that punk rock shit that he was doing, screaming on the tracks and shit like that. Man.
They had the whole package going around then, and then you add in Pakalika on stage, and if you're at a gathering of the Juggalos and you've hit up the drug bridge or something, got festive in the nighttime activities, and you're hearing Kottonmouth Kings, and all of a sudden Pakalika breaks out with one of his dance routines for like, a 5 minute to where he's just going forever. You lose yourself in that, and literally he looks like he's made of elastic. It's crazy. Like it was some Woodstock trip stuff.
Yeah, man. I've seen Kottonmouth Kings probably 4 or 5 times live, and they fucking put on a show. When they had Taxman on
Taxman,
stage,
yeah.
You got Lou Dog on the fucking lowrider drum set. Pakalika doing the dances. Rest in peace, Pakalika. That shit was so tragic.
Yeah, out of nowhere. I didn't even know he had asthma.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts.
It was really cool. They had his mom at the SRH Fest. Zinger brought her out. That's pretty cool.
That was dope.
Zinger's a good dude, man. He sounds like, I don't know him personally, but he sounds like he's a good dude. And whenever Kottonmouth was on SRH, they were always good business wise. And then I listened to the Facebook video he had, and he said he's willing to take a loss to make back right whatever was done wrong with like Kingmaker and all that. I was like, yeah, they need to get back with this dude, because this dude knows what he's doing when it comes to the music business.
Yeah, absolutely. but the classic Kottonmouth shit. Let's run through our 5 and then continue our discussion once more. What was your 5 albums?
Go ahead and read yours. I got to pull mine up.
All right. My number 5 was Hidden Stash, Volume 1. My number 4 was High Society. Number 3, Hidden Stash 2, The Cream of the Crop. Number 2, Rolling Stone. Number 1, Royal Highness.
Not a lot of difference in our list, other than I think the Green Album and Hidden Stash 1 are the only differences. And I thought about putting Hidden Stash 1 on the top 5 in place of the Green Album, so there's not a lot of difference. I had at 5 Hidden Stash 2, at 4 the Green Album, at 3 High Society, at 2 Rolling Stone, and at 1 Royal Highness.
Fuck yeah, all dope albums.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with any of those albums. I was also a fan of number 7. It was a good one. I liked Coast to Coast. I thought it was a pretty good one. The Sunrise Sessions was good for just a random album that I wasn't expecting much from. I like the Joint Ventures album. There's not a whole lot of albums from them that they put out that I didn't like. I didn't like their feel with Dirtball. I didn't like how he mixed with them. Don't get me wrong, Dirtball can rap his ass off. He's by far the best rapper in the group, but his flow just didn't fit in with their stony vibe. It was just too much difference. And plus, whenever they were hyping to bring a new Kottonmouth Kings member and they're showing like a shadow of them and it's like a bald dude and you're thinking Saint Dog and then you get Dirtball, it don't matter who was sitting in that chair, you're going to be disappointed.
I was super disappointed. I remember watching that video thinking, oh shit, this is the moment I've been waiting fucking 10 years for.
Me too.
This is it. We're getting fucking Saint Dog back in the group. And here's Dirtball. And then I was like disappointed, but then I'm like, wait a minute. I like Dirtball. I fuck with him. I got his albums. Let's see how this goes. But that disappointment is still there. Yeah,
I mean, it's got to be. Because anybody but Saint was going to be. You could have brought Shaggy Two Dope out on that throne, and I would have been disappointed because it wasn't Saint.
Right.
But I did tell Dirtball I got to meet Kottonmouth Kings at the gathering meet and greet in 2010. Whenever Dirtball was on stage with him, I thought he held his own. And I told Dirtball, I was like, man, whenever you got added to the group, I wasn't looking forward to you being live with the Kottonmouth Kings just because I'm used to that sound, and I thought you were going to mess it up. Live, I thought he hung with them a lot better. It wasn't as noticeable, but on the disc, it just didn't work for me.
Yeah, I agree. The Long Live
all of his parts were dope, but they just didn't fit with Kottonmouth Kings.
The Long Live the Kings album was dope, but after that, I didn't listen to, what was it, Sunrise Sessions after that?
Yeah.
I have the CD, never listened to it. I did listen to Mile High because it came with a bonus disc where Saint Dog was on every song. And they were actually supposed to bring him back in the group at that point with Dirtball, and they were going to record an album, but never happened. And then that whole fucking Suburban Noize split happened. And fast forward 5 years to pretty much nothing fucking happening. And we're here now. But yeah, I kind of fell off with Kottonmouth. To be honest, I kind of fell off with Kottonmouth Kings after Coast to Coast. The Green Album was like whatever to me. And then after that, they brought Dirtball in the group. I listened to that, like I said, but I kind of fell off after Coast to Coast for me.
It's pretty much the same with me. I fell off after Long Live the Kings, though. Like I said, I just couldn't get into that vibe. There was too many skip tracks in it. Like every time you got that Kottonmouth King song, no hate against Dirtball, then Dirtball would be there. He fits good as a guest, but through the whole album, it just didn't work for me. So after Long Live the Kings, I would just listen to like the songs that I'd see people saying were dope.
Right. And yeah, like you said, no hate to Dirtball.
That dude could rap his ass off.
I said it before, I'll say it again. He put out Skull Hollow this year. Still one of my favorite albums this year. That shit is so fucking hard. His best album yet. And he's always put out dope albums.
I think it's cool that he kind of knows that he's a better solo artist anyways. He has no interest in going back and doing the Kottonmouth Kings thing. And he may have even heard it. To not want to go back and try to make some money as one of the Kottonmouth Kings. I mean, no disrespect to him, he's playing like small stages at the Gathering. If you're on if the whole Kottonmouth Kings there, you're on the main stage, all of a sudden making a lot bigger bag of money. But he has no interest in that because maybe he knows that he just sounds better as a solo artist.
Yeah, and I think there was
Just
I think there's bad blood between people still, and
there's bad blood between everybody in that camp.
yeah,
Especially Bobby B and anybody.
Oh, Bobby B.
Wants nothing to do with him.
Oh no, we talked about that on that show too. It's like anybody brings up Kottonmouth Kings on one of his posts, or if he just randomly comments on somebody's post, it's nothing good at all.
I remember little Jerry, he was like, yeah, man, he did a 3-hour interview one time, just went live. It just went for 3 hours.
Yeah, man. Bobby B. Who knows what happened? I don't know what happened.
No.
I'm sure he has fucking good reason to have bad blood. The whole situation seemed. What did you think of that whole thing when Sub Noize started to fucking just tank and the split happened?
So you mean originally, whenever like Daddy X was saying people weren't getting paid for like their iTunes downloads and stuff?
Yep.
I mean, immediately, like Zinger said, you side with the artist because you don't know Zinger other than he's just the manager. But then Zinger did his own Facebook, which live video, which I can't find, right after X did that, and he literally went onto the SRH account and was saying how many units everybody sold and what got paid. I remember him bringing up Dirtball, saying he sold like 1,100 units, and there's his money. There's what he got for it. And once I seen that, and then there was nothing ever again from Daddy X, I was like, well, Zinger was obviously telling the truth, because if somebody calls you out to that degree and you don't come back with anything for them, then they were speaking facts.
That's how I felt, because at first I was like, oh, Kevin Zinger fucked him over, which kind of sounded like a typical manager move.
Yeah, it sounds like every musical artist you've ever heard of behind the music.
But like you said, he put out that video. I remember that video. He went through. Yep. He said Dirtball, Slain, La Coca Nostra, Big B. He named He named off everybody. He even said Kottonmouth Kings. He named off their solo projects. And I was like, oh, you're just, like you said, you're going to come out with info like that? All right, let's see what Daddy X comes back with. And it was fucking crickets. And
crickets.
And from that point on, I was still kind of iffy about the situation, but I felt like Daddy X was the problem. And it's been confirmed pretty much at this point. Daddy X was the problem, and he still continues to fuck people over to this day. Selling the music rights, not paying royalties. That's fucked up. And to throw that whole fucking legacy away like that is such a shame.
And what's so crazy is Lil Jerry was saying they're down to work with him again. Loke was wanting to get him on this last album or the next album. Like, they're still down to work with him even after all that, which you got to say, a lot of people will just immediately say that Daddy X threw the whole thing away, but those guys also have like 20 years of memories on the road with that dude, and know, like you said, that without him, they never would have got put on. He just found them because he heard Johnny Richter and D-Lo rapping to an LL Cool J song on the radio. It's like, man, you dudes can rap. And they're still making a career out of that.
Yeah, man.
So I mean, they still got to have some feelings towards him positive, even though from what all the stories look like, it looks like he was in the wrong from the whole downfall of Suburban Noize.
Even Kevin Zinger said he's down to talk to Daddy X. I bet in order for fucking Daddy X to come in the picture, he would basically just have to come crawling back on his knees, I think, especially with Kevin Zinger, because he was throwing wild rumors out about Kevin Zinger, saying that he was sleeping with his wife and shit like that.
Got stabbed
in the neck. What the fuck, dude? Like, I would love to see it all come back, but I would be happy at this point with just D-Lo, Richter, and Saint Dog. Kind of like how it was on the last album, but it was kind of like it was a kind of sort of thing. Like, they had Johnny Richter as a feature artist. That was fucking weird.
It was like they recorded half an album and then like talked to Richter finally, and then got him in the group and was like, instead of recording all new Kottonmouth with Richter, Saint, and D-Lo, let's put out these songs we got already and then add these new songs we got with Richter is having featuring, which threw everybody off.
Right.
Like nobody knew what the hell was up. I was like, how does a Kottonmouth King, one of the Kottonmouth Kings, featured on a Kottonmouth King CD, which I don't even think D-Loc has the right to call himself the Kottonmouth Kings, which is even more confusing.
That whole situation's fucking weird because the way Lil Jerry explained it to me is D-Loc owns 50% and Daddy X owns the other 50%. I doubt, who knows? Daddy X did sell the rights to all the masters. If you go on Apple Music, Spotify, anything like that, it still says that Royal Family or whatever label he started under exclusive license to, and it's like Cleopatra Records or some shit like that. And he sold all the fucking rights to all those records. That's
which is overlooking the future for the now benefits, because look how many vinyl records that could be pressed up now from Kottonmouth Kings that he could have made bank off of. One of the coolest things I heard about Zinger is that he won the lawsuit to own all those rights, then gave them to Daddy X. He just wanted to prove a point that they were actually his in a court of law.
right.
Then spent all that money to do so, then said, here you go. What like just a G-ass move that was.
Right.
Like that's gangster as a motherfucker.
Kevin Zinger is that fucking dude. I'm really glad Suburban Noize is coming back. I hope they could use the name Kottonmouth Kings. I'm sure Zinger's going to figure out a way.
I like that Three Kings name that Little Jerry was talking about too. That sounds like, if nothing else, you can go with that, or of course Kottonmouth King Spade.
Right. That would be dope. I just hope when Saint Dog gets out that he's still back in the group.
Yeah. Because I remember they were saying that he didn't get paid for that last album yet. And once he gets out, they got to get right on that. Then he'd be in the group.
Well,
because he didn't get paid from that last album, apparently. Apparently nobody did. And most of the people who bought it didn't get it.
That album, that whole situation. And then the dude, Will, I can never think of his last name.
Mosley, I think.
Will Mosley, that piece of shit. Fuck him. I'll say it. I don't even care. That dude never answered any fucking emails to any fans. It was his email associated with the account. He fucking took over the old Kottonmouth Kings.
Yeah, that's really hoe shit.
With 86,000 followers. And he has the balls to post a picture of him and Twisted talking about he grew weed for Twisted when Twisted said that shit was trash. They said that shit was trash and it didn't even get him high. And he still posted that picture.
It was so trash, but Monoxide said he was never had nothing to do with any of them. It was so trash. Not just the dude growing the weed. He wanted nothing to do with anybody involved with that business or Kottonmouth Kings. That weed was so bad. He said it was pre-rolled. He's like, she should grow a strain for us and say it's the Twisted strain, and then send us fucking pre-rolls.
Yeah. That dude's a fucking cornball and a half. Ripped off so many fans. When that D-Loc solo album came out, I was like, no fucking way am I placing a pre-order. I never got the fucking Kingdom Come CD. I had to get my money back through PayPal.
And that was a good album.
Which one?
Ripperside.
Ripperside was, I like that better than his first solo album.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good D-Loc album, and nobody got it because of that whole breakdown with Kingmakers not sending out the Kottonmouth King CD.
Yeah, and it's no longer on fucking iTunes or Apple Music or anything anymore either.
I think it's still on Spotify, unless they've taken it down this week.
Oh, okay.
Royal Highness isn't on Spotify if you look under Kottonmouth Kings, but if you search the Kottonmouth Kings playlist, it's on there. That's the only way I can even find Royal Highness on Spotify these days.
Yeah, they're even on Apple Music. If you search Kottonmouth Kings, some albums won't pop up. There's been days where I go look and like nothing pops up. I'm like, what the fuck?
And then sometimes albums of instrumentals have popped up. Have you seen that yet? There's a couple that are just the instrumentals of albums. That's on Spotify right now.
Really?
Last time I checked, it was whenever I was making this list just a couple of days ago. It was I think it was Fire It Up and Coast to Coast, because I was going to listen to Coast to Coast and just bump it as I was writing the list, and it was just the beats.
Oh wow, then they never officially put out instrumental albums.
No, so I was like, well, how the hell is there an instrumental album of albums that they didn't put out instrumental? I know like Dr. Dre did that with the Chronic 2000s, and random people do that. ICP will put out the Mighty Def Pop like DJ kit and stuff like that. But I've never heard of Kottonmouth Kings doing that, and it was just the straight instrumentals.
That's fucking wild. I didn't know that. I don't use Spotify. I use Apple Music. It's crazy how one fucking streaming outlet can be so different from the next.
It's because there's probably like different copyright technology each uses, and some catches some and some don't. I'm guessing like somebody probably had Royal Highness upload it, and like it got pulled down from Spotify because it can't be up there, but somebody else just reloaded it and put it in a Kottonmouth Kings playlist and just called it the Royal Highness playlist, and it's still up there. It just hasn't called it yet.
Yeah, I went to go listen to Hidden Stash 2 today on Apple Music. Wasn't there. The original Hidden Stash was on there. It used to not be up there, but it's up there now. But Hidden Stash 2 is not on Apple Music. Not that I could see. I even typed in Hidden Stash, just typed in Hidden Stash and looked for it and couldn't find it. It's pretty wild. Their whole situation is, it's unfortunate, like how disorganized and kind of like discombobulated everything is. They're so dope and like just a classic group over the last 20 years. They put out such classic material.
At one point, like you said, I heard on one of your shows, it was Psychopathic, Strange, and Suburban Noize that was running the underground, and Kottonmouth Kings arguably was running it more than anybody. They were coming out with the most consistent albums as far as major releases. They were putting out albums every year. They were putting out at least, if it wasn't a brand new LP, it was something like Joint Ventures or Subnoise Sojas. They never rested. It just kept going. And even whenever Psychopathic started to slow down or tech started to slow down, Kottonmouth Kings would continue to put albums out every year, and then like you said, just out of nowhere the bottom fell out.
Yeah, crazy shit. I think tech got maybe a little bit of inspiration on putting out a shitload of music from Suburban Noize and Kottonmouth Kings, because they're, like you said, if I remember correctly, they would put out a full-length album and then some kind of, joint ventures, like you said, or Kottonmouth Experience, something like that.
Hidden Stash.
Yeah, like sometimes they were putting out 2 albums a year. One would be, one would be the official album, all new original music, and then another one would be like remixes or Subnoise Soldiers. Those albums were dope.
Yep, no Hidden Stash 2 on Spotify either, but Kingdom Come is on here.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's weird with every artist, and then you get with an artist whose copyright rights are so thrown off as Kottonmouth Kings, it gets really stupid.
Yeah, man. Like, it would be nice if they got the rights back to the albums, or since that other, since Daddy X sold the rights, maybe Suburban Noize could somehow work with that. We're just gonna have to see. I would like to see Kottonmouth come out with a new album with Saint Dog, Richter, D-Loc. Shit, if they could bring Daddy X back in the picture, that would be fucking fresh as hell. I mean, D-Loc, they used Daddy X on the intro on Kingdom Come.
Kottonmouth Kings, fired up.
Yeah. Fired Up was a great album too. That almost made number 5 for me. I fucking love that album.
Yeah, it's got some bangers on it. The one that ends the track, what's it called? I can't remember. Smoke the Nine Away or something like that. Rip the Nine Away.
Yep.
That's one of those classics. And I'm looking at Spotify right now, and the Coast to Coast instrumentals is indeed on here.
Okay.
Still.
Interesting.
See if you can see that at all.
Yep.
It says instrumental outside every one of them.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's it. I've never seen that before.
I hadn't either until I was trying to listen to Coast for real. Glad I got it on my iPod.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going through it on Apple. It's actually up on Apple Music, Coast to Coast instrumentals.
So and like you said, I don't remember them ever putting that out as a release. Like, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Like, Daddy X must have just had like the beats for Coast to Coast and put out a new like release to get more download money.
Right. So, Fire It Up had banging ass tracks on it. The title track, Fire It Up.
Bad
Um,
Habits, of course, one of the better Kottonmouth songs
Bad
ever.
Habits is one of my all-time favorite Kottonmouth Kings songs. Fucking love that shit. The Deal, where they talk about going to meet these dudes and then they end up getting arrested at the end.
That was a good storytelling. So they took a little Juggalo ICP
Yeah,
flavor with that. Took out of the Violent J bag.
right. Yeah, the Cottonmouth Kings never really told stories like that, but that was
Mm-mm.
a dope ass storytelling track right there. Johnny's Got a Problem. I love that track. Johnny's got a problem and he's out of control.
That's one of those good rip hop punk rock
Yep.
sounding songs that gets the pit going back in the day.
Yep. Yeah, really dope shit on that album. Almost made my number 5. Like I said, fucking I love Cottonmouth Kings.
Number
And
seven, it had the Cypress Hill song on it, which we had all been waiting for forever. I thought that was a super dope song.
that was a dope song. Um, and then they had the FTI 2 with Tech 9 on there,
Yep,
which
King Click.
yep.
Like that
That
whole album is pretty good.
I
Munchies.
number 7's a decent album. I saw them on that tour at the House of Blues in Boston and they tore that shit up.
What year was that? You remember?
2005, I want to say.
Okay, I seen them in 2007, and they were at the top of their game then. Still, it was everybody was still in the group,
Yep.
and I seen them at Bogarts in Cincinnati, which is one of the a famous rock club that all the like new metal bands like Slipknot and Korn and Limp Bizkit played, and I got to see them there. Man, they tore that motherfucker up. They had Sin Dog open for them. Like you said, their live show back then, they just had so much going on between Taxman, Pop. They had all the stage props. They bring out the giant smoking joint and everything, and then the
Yeah.
big chunks of weed they bring out in the bags.
Yeah.
Just a dope ass show, man. I mean, make your show a show. Don't just make it a dude up there spinning a towel with a hype man.
Yeah, man. Their live shows were fucking hype. Hype as hell. You know, they had the
Eh,
weed plants. Pakalika, man, that dude would, like you said before, danced his ass off. I forget what he called that, like the hydraulic or whatever the fuck he called
Hydroponics, I think.
something like that. But his pop, like basically pop locking,
Yeah,
that shit was on another level. Like you look at the old footage. I was watching some YouTube footage last night um, from a show that they did in '98. It looks like it's in this like tiny ass little room, and it's with Saint Dog. You know, it's when Royal Highness was out, and you could see Pakalika dancing on stage, just tearing it up. So dope.
that was I think that '98 video you're talking about, or if it's not, there is a video up on YouTube from '98, Hollow Wicked, right before they got kicked off before the Detroit date that I went to. So yeah, I just missed that show barely. But they did bring out Twisted for a little bit longer, and that was the first time I'd ever seen Twisted at that Hollow Wicked. So at least ICP made up for it by bringing Twisted out with them.
Dope. Yeah. In preparation for tonight's show, I was like, I posted that video of D-Loke and Saint Dog performing Frontline in the studio. I'd
Yo,
never seen that before. That was really dope to see that in the studio. I love in studio footage like that.
yeah, I remember whenever ICP was talking about their box set was going to have studio from like the original Funhouse, like recording like Riddlebox and Ringmaster at the Funhouse. And man, that's something I wanted to see. It ended up being a little clip that came out on YouTube, which you can see. But I wanted to see them like, really see the actual process, not just like a 2-minute clip of them listening to some music bobbing their head.
Right. Still dope to see, but yeah, I'd like to see the actual recording process. I would like to think that we would get that someday, but well,
I'm
just have to
waiting.
wait and see.
I'm still waiting on the first gathering. They literally had
That
like
shit ain't never
professional.
coming.
They had professional cameramen. They had
I
to pay
know.
a couple G's filming us that entire weekend. And the only thing that's ever been seen from it was that Twisted footage on Born Twisted. Like they have gathering footage. They have hours of just like the first gathering, which Juggalos, not just Juggalos that were there would want to see. Juggalos, now that didn't have an opportunity to see what shit was like back then would like to see that. The first gathering was so crazy. I was talking about it on Instagram with ICP Fan 23. Think about it. There was no 30-year-old Juggalo whenever the first gathering happened. Not even Violent J and Shaggy. Like everybody had a 20-year-old's mentality. And all those crazy motherfuckers gathered out of nowhere for the first time ever. It was crazy. Like, it was just kids. It was kids, Jay and Shaggy, putting on an event for 5,000 other brutally kids in the middle of Detroit. It wasn't even like out in the middle of nowhere like the gatherings were now. It was in Metro Detroit. Well, not Metro Detroit, but right outside of Detroit in the suburbs in Novi. So literally you go in the gathering, which was, of course, in the Expo Center inside. You walk out and there's a Big Boys in the parking lot. Like, that's how close we were to, just suburbia. All these juggalos were that close to suburbia. We took over that Big Boy restaurant. There was nothing but like juggalos and weed smoke in that thing for 3 days.
That's fucking dope. And Kottonmouth Kings was actually originally supposed to be on Psychopathic Records before they went off and started Suburban Noize.
They were at that first gathering. The only other than ICP, I think they're the only musicians to be at the first and the 20th.
Yeah,
a Misery might have been if he had a little show stage this year, because he was at the first one.
Yeah, he was at the first one. That's when that whole fucking fight popped off, right?
I think that was the next year, because that went down with Juggalos, and I didn't see that at the gathering. I think that was the next year.
Okay.
This year, the first one was the first time they all performed as Riders, so they were all getting along then. That was the first ever Riders performance.
Yeah. But yeah, Kottonmouth was originally supposed to be on Psychopathic. I mean, those early records, Royal Highness and Hidden Stash, you got Juggalo references. I'm not Violent J, but I'm a Psycho Rebel. D-Lo rapping on, I think it's Frontline on Hidden Stash.
And you got Bobby B wearing the Carnival Carnage shirt in one of their music videos as well.
Yeah, fucking Lou Dog rocking the Great Malenko jersey in the High Society booklet.
Yep.
Really
that's like my favorite ICP merch of all time, is that those jerseys just in general. I had the red one, and then my chick I was talking about from back in the day had the purple one. So those Malenko jerseys, man, I've loved every one of those, every color of them.
Classic.
Those are like the classic ICP merch. If I think of like a jersey, I think of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Classic fucking merch from that Great Malenko era. Absolutely.
I remember on the documentary, it's got Legs Diamond like going over the merch stand. He's like, $150, and we don't take checks.
Yeah.
It wasn't even credit cards back then; it was checks.
Right, and we don't take checks. Yeah, man.
And that's $150 in 1997. Think about that. That's like, over 20 years ago, and it was still the same price as today. So back then, that $150 was like $500 today.
Yeah. It was, and the shit they did. I mean, they still put out quality. Like, the jerseys are still quality, but it seemed like back then they were like just a little bit. Like they were spending that extra few dollars to get that really top quality fucking jerseys and T-shirts and shit like that.
It was almost like you had to spend top dollar because the ones that made the lower quality weren't around yet. Like, the equipment hadn't been made to manufacture jerseys cheaply. Like, every jersey you got back then, everything was stitched onto it. It was like patches and stitches.
Right.
And then once like people started being able to figure out how to like screen print over jersey material, it kind of went a little bit lower quality. But back then, like, if you got a jersey from Psychopathic, that thing would last 5 years of wearing it, once a week.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm thinking about it. I never owned like any Kottonmouth Kings merch, only CDs. I never had T-shirts. I think they put out jerseys.
Yeah, they didn't do a lot of hockey jerseys because in California it had been kind of hot to wear long sleeves, but the basketball jerseys were always dope. They had like the 420 as the number and everything.
Yeah.
I always thought about getting the basketball jersey when I'd see them at the gathering, but I'm just not much on basketball jerseys. My favorite Kottonmouth King shirt I had, it was whenever they were putting graphics like across the chest, or like across the chest area, like a tattoo, and it was all Kottonmouth Kings logo. It kind of looked like a tattoo, and then it had like Kottonmouth Kings is kind of like a Tupac, where Tupac has it across his stomach, where he has Thug Life. It had like Kottonmouth Kings. It's kind of done like in the theme of tattoos. I thought those were always dope, and I never really seen anybody else do that.
Yeah,
it fit their style well, because you look at them and they have all those actual tattoos on them in those spots.
Like, you could tell just by looking at them, they're West Coast dudes.
Yo, for sure. wearing the khakis and the Chuck Taylors back in the day.
Yeah, the fucking socks up to their knees and shit.
Yep.
Dope
Kottonmouth
shit.
Kings is probably, other than the Hatchet Man tattoo that I got in 1998, which now I've got like 30 Juggalo tattoos, Kottonmouth Kings was second. I've got the Kottonmouth King logo on my arm, and then I've got the SRH spade on my leg, and I've had those for over 15 years.
Hell yeah. Really dope shit. I don't have any Cottonmouth Kings ink. I do plan on getting some KMK ink at some point, just because they're just one of my favorite groups of all time. Love Cottonmouth Kings. I'm pretty sure I have every release on CD, which is fucking wild because they put out a lot of shit.
I was noticing whenever I was looking through Royal Highness that there's a couple of different variations of the Royal Highness, and I know how big of like an audio guy you are. There's one that doesn't have bump, the remix, and then there's one that is, apparently. I didn't know there was a variation.
Oh no shit. Yeah, there is a different one. It's like it's not as good as the one that's on Royal Highness though. I've heard it. It's kind of like a stripped down version of it. I don't know. Like to have
it's the one they put the video out of. That's the audio from the video, the music video.
Okay.
And then the original one's just the original one. But there's a re-release of Royal Highness that has both of the bumps. Like bump is the extra. The bump remix is the extra hidden track on there.
No shit. I didn't know that.
Yep. It was, I guess, whenever the video came out, I guess they figured they should re-release it, and for people that like that version.
I know they put out some vinyl. That's on vinyl, but trying to find that for a cheap price. Good luck.
Yeah, because that came out whenever like vinyl wasn't coming out very often.
Right.
Like the old school Riddle Box album.
Right. I do have a couple I have an advanced copy of High Society. I have an advanced copy of Rolling Stone.
Nice.
So I have a couple variations, but pretty much I just have everything that they put out. That wasn't really rare. Their shit is kind of rare now, though. You look it up. It's not super hard to find, but it's not really easy either at the same time.
It's gonna be with the rights to their music in limbo like it is. Everybody, the only way you can guarantee that you're gonna be able to listen to Royal Highness tomorrow is to have the fucking CD of it, because it might get pulled off of anything that you're streaming it on at any time. It may be replaced with the instrumental version of the album.
Like I said earlier, there's been times I've looked up Kottonmouth Kings on Apple Music and nothing popped up. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like looking for an underground horrorcore artist that's got like 3 fans. Like, that's the only time I expect to not be able to find something. This group's literally been around for 22 years now, right. And sometimes you can search them on Spotify and not find anything.
Right. Right. I think I'm gonna wrap this bitch up. We've been going about an hour.
We didn't have to talk about other things. With pre-show is like, might have to break out some other stuff beside Kottonmouth Kings. I think we pretty much kept the Kottonmouth Kings the whole time, which is dope for me.
Absolutely. That was the plan. I mean, Kottonmouth Kings, so dope. I'm excited for the future, for the Suburban Noize reboot. I'm excited for new music. I'm glad Richter is back in the picture. I'm glad Saint Dog's back in the picture. We got the 3 original Kings. I hope it stays that way. And
at least the 3 Kings. I'm happy with it. We know Bobby B ain't coming back. That's the one that's checked out. We ain't getting Bobby B back.
Right.
Everybody else is still a possibility.
Yeah.
But if I got those 3 that you talked about, I'm good with that.
I'm good with that as well.
And we got SRH putting their stuff out, so we know we get it.
Exactly. Hell yeah. Exactly. You know you're going to get it. And another thing real quick, they just started dropping new merch and people are actually getting their shit, which is dope to see.
Yeah, in 2 or 3 days.
Right.
They're already getting and a bunch of the hats are already selling out. So if anybody wants one of those old school throwback Kottonmouth Kings hats, they've been popping on their website. Definitely go over there and jump on them, because I was looking at some of them and there was already a couple colors that were sold out, and there was a few that said like 2 left and 1 remaining. That was a couple days ago. So definitely jump on that.
Yep. Kottonmouthkingstore.com, I believe it is.
Yep.
But I want to give you a shout out. Thank you for hopping on, and great episode. Kottonmouth Kings, top 5 albums. Do you want to plug your socials or anything like that?
Yeah, anybody that wants to follow my socials, it's just at Jokerz Gallery on Instagram and Twitter, or you can find like 2019, which is a amazing Jekyll Brothers documentary, which features Rome Bone, Murder Mayhem show, TJ from Dark Carnival Spirits, and all those talking about the 20 years of Amazing Jekyll Brothers. Just go to Fago Lovers YouTube page, and it's right on there, or just search 2019. It comes up. Almost 15,000 views on that already, so
That's dope.
get it up to 15,000.
That was a really good documentary, really well put together. So much props to you on that.
And then everybody I asked knocked it out of the park. That's why I asked the Juggalos. I knew if you ask Juggalos to do something, they're always going to go the extra step. And everybody I asked just knocked it out of the park. That's why it was so dope. It was just a different perspective from everybody.
Fuck yeah. All right. And thank you again. And to everybody that tuned in, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, I'm out. Peace.